Welcome to Hill Country Network. My name is Chuck Garrett, and my guest today is Sam Creekmore. Sam, it's great to have you here.
Good to be here, Dr. Garrett. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming and joining us. What we're working on now is we're going to talk to 4 political candidates during the next week. And our goal is to help you, the audience, get to know each one of them a little bit better. Sam is running for the House of Representatives, and he's running against Robbins Rogers. And those are the 2 candidates that we're going to talk to in the next day or so. So we'll get right on with it. Sam, again, great to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Why don't you start by just kind of telling us your party affiliation, how you came to be a part of that party, and just kind of how you view that.
Well, I'm a conservative by nature and by values, which makes me a Republican, but I'm also an enhanced carry conservative Republican. So
enhanced carry.
Enhanced carry, yes, sir.
What exactly how does that mean?
Well, it's amendment. The Second Amendment. I value that one strongly, and I have took a course for enhanced carry weapon pistol. And
I didn't know that.
So I am an enhanced carry candidate.
Well, that's cool. Well, it's good. It's good to have you here. I know you've been probably a lifetime Union County resident.
I moved here when I was 6.
Okay. Why don't you tell us a little about your family and just kind of growing up in New Albany and Union County?
Sure. My parents, Dr. Creekmore and Barbara Creekmore, moved here when I was 6 when they finished residency in Savannah. I am married to a wonderful, energetic ball of energy and a wonderful sweet lady from the Delta, Warner Poindexter. She's from Inverness, Mississippi. And we have 3 children, Callie Creekmore, or Callie Creekmore Tyler now.
Okay.
As she is will finish law school in 2 years in California. Her husband is a former Navy man, and they live in San Diego at the moment. Josh Creekmore, my oldest son, he finished at Mississippi State. He's married to Anna Cressman, who's from Pontotoc / Water Valley. She claims Pontotoc, her parents claim Water Valley. But she's a school teacher and a wonderful lady herself. And Josh in the real estate and the manufacturing business in Columbus. But they're soon to be moving back, I'm happy to announce, to New Albany.
It would be great to have
Absolutely.
them back, yeah.
And then my youngest is also my favorite baseball player, Sweet Lou Creekmore, who's in the 10th grade. And so I'm really proud of my family.
Well, if you don't mind, let me just kind of follow up a little bit, because I got to know your dad and your mom. Your dad a little bit professionally as a doctor, because I was one of his patients, and your mother more through church.
Mm-hmm.
But just you were blessed to have such wonderful parents and role models, it seems.
I was so blessed, and as I've gotten older, I've understood that more and more, what they've meant and how fortunate I have been. As a younger person, I thought everybody's parents were like that, and everybody had the same opportunities I did, but that I've learned that's not the case. I'm very blessed.
Well, and I remember it just, and I hate to go this, well, I don't really hate to go this way, because you have such a wonderful family. I'd like to take just a little bit of time with it, but I know your dad, when I was superintendent of schools, anytime we needed anything, he was always there. I mean, it was amazing, and I know he had some health issues with, I think, cancer at one point.
He has.
And when I first came here, he had just dealt with that for a good period of time. And but even then, anytime we had a student who needed some kind of medical treatment or needed help, he was always the one to either do it or help us find a way to get it done, and we really appreciated that.
Well, and that's part of my development. There are times in my life when I didn't necessarily appreciate him being gone so much and taking care, but you know, that's the servanthood that he's instilled in my brother and me. My brother, who's our district attorney, represents 7 counties. He lives here in New Albany, Ben Creekmore.
Yeah.
So, and he is a public servant himself.
Well, then I, of course, and then talking just a moment about Callie, I know she left high school and went to Millsaps.
She did.
And now she's in law school out in California.
She is. She wanted to travel, and I mean, she spent a summer abroad in Mexico in anthropology, and then she's spent a summer in Europe studying and traveling, and now she went to the West Coast for law school and met her husband, and she's something else.
I know my daughter Emma lives in Houston, Texas, and I'm proud for her and what she's doing, but I really miss having her closer by.
Yeah, I miss Emma too. It's a neighbor, but
I'm figuring, I'm guessing you experiencing a little bit that yourself.
Well, and that's part of the reason why I'm running for legislature. I think our young people need more opportunities and more reasons to come back than what we're providing them now.
Yeah, I've heard you talk a little bit about the brain drain in Mississippi and that kind of thing. What are your thoughts on that?
Well,
how do you see that?
You know, it's all this is related, business, education, but I appreciate and want our young people to go out and experience the world.
Yes, sir.
And then I also want them to have and feel the opportunity and the influence to come back to Mississippi and take their experiences and make Mississippi better again.
Yes, sir.
Or better again, or make it even better than what it is. And I feel that they don't think they have those opportunities, and they may not. I think we need to create an environment of innovation and of technology and of more sustainable communities, because that's what these other places where they are doing.
Right.
And we can do that. We've got many of the resources to do that, and some communities are, but we can do it at a higher level, a better level.
Well, and to that point, about a third of all education graduates leave the state at graduation, and you know, my daughter was one of them.
Yes,
she and her husband is also a teacher, and they both left Mississippi. They graduated at Ole Miss and left Mississippi and moved to Texas, and a lot of it had to do with economic types of things.
Well, and that just compounds the problem when our teachers are leaving, and then our highly educated young people are leaving. You know, it just makes it more difficult to bring innovative businesses to Mississippi.
Well, I do want, you said Lewis was playing baseball, and I remember Josh was a really good baseball player, and I also enjoyed watching him play football. Matter of fact, he made a couple of the most amazing runs I've ever seen when he was playing football here, and so I really enjoyed that. But on to Lewis just a little bit. So he's in the 10th grade. Where's he going to school?
New Albany High School.
Well, I thought he probably was, but I wasn't sure. And you've been serving on the school board for a period of time now.
You know, it's I've been serving our high school since I was in the 9th grade.
Okay.
I was in English class, and the senior English teacher walked by the room, and I was laid back in the chair, not paying attention to what Miss Bryson was saying, and she walked by the door and saw me, and then came back and knocked on the door and said, "I need to see Sam Creekmore out in the hall." It scared me to death. I didn't even know how she knew my name. So I got up and walked out. My shirt was untucked, and when I got out in the hallway, she said, "You are going to be a leader of this school." She said, "You're going to have to step it up, do right, and do what you are expected to do. And I expect you to walk down that hall and sign up for," at that time, you can only sign up for, I think, secretary.
Yes, sir.
And sign up for secretary, and you prepare yourself, and you run a campaign, and then by the time you're a senior, I want you to be the president of the school. I said, "Yes, ma'am, Miss Brassfield." And I walked down the hall, and as I walked down the hall, she says, "And tuck your shirt in. You look like a slob." So, but ever since then, you know, I've been serving the school in some capacity, whether it's secretary or even after I got out. I'm a landscape architect by trade, and when I was in school, I did a plan for our high school, which I think the garden club was able to get a grant for to plant trees around the school. But in some form or another, which now as an adult, being on the school board and the school board president now.
I was going to say, I thought you were the president.
Mm-hmm. And that's been one of the most rewarding things. Our teachers work so hard, and our administrators work hard, and it's paying off. We're one of the top 10 schools
in the state.
in the state.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's truly amazing.
Well, I know they appreciate your leadership. You mentioned that you had studied landscape architecture. I was wondering if you could take us a little bit through, I know we know high school now, New Albany High School. If you could take us through a little bit of your educational background and then kind of your work history coming out of college.
Sure. Well, I'm a product of public education. I've never been to private, not that there's anything wrong with private schools, but I think the stronger the public schools are, the stronger the community is going to be, and the stronger the state's going to be.
Amen.
I went to a public university at Mississippi State, studied there. I got involved, and this will kind of go into the work history. They had a strong co-op program, which our high school is somewhat implementing that while bringing businesses into
with Impacto.
With Impacto.
Yes, sir.
But the co-op program was huge in my life, and I had a master plan. And I always think it's good to have a master plan for whatever you're doing in life, and I always constantly reevaluating it and changing it. But my plan to co-op was to go to all 4 borders of the United States, East Coast, North, South, and West, and work. I never really thought I'd ever come back to New Albany. At that point, I was looking for a place that outside Mississippi that I would enjoy. I worked in New York, I worked in New Jersey, worked in Florida, worked in South Carolina. I never made it to the West Coast with the co-op program, but I did do competition out there in design and landscape. But I saw that education and public education and the co-op program could give me an opportunity to see what life is outside of Mississippi. And fortunately for me, the West Coast didn't work out because of a summer school conflict, and that's when I met Warner, my wife, in summer school, and the rest of that was history. By the way, we just celebrated our 30th anniversary yesterday.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations. And I know Warner has worked with the school particularly in tennis. She had a great run as a tennis coach.
Well, I'll segue this into the work history because there's nothing she can't do, and she's done many things. But after co-oping, we lived in Starkville for a while, and I worked for the university, and then we lived in Memphis, where she worked. And I went back to school thinking I would become a physician, so I was taking science classes at Christian Brothers. After a couple years in Memphis, we wanted to move back. We wanted to start a business and start a family. So in '93, we moved to New Albany, lived on Adams Street, and started Creekmore Landscape and started a family. Since then, she's been a coach.
Right.
Well, she helped found Creekmore Landscape and worked there for years. She's been a caterer. She's been a coach. She's won 4 state championships. Yep. She's currently the Blue Mountain tennis coach at the college ranks, which she's been very successful there. But not only Creekmore Landscape in 2003, in 1993, in 2004, we started a construction company called Carpe Diem Holdings, and we did most of our work in the Oxford area, which now we're doing that all over Tupelo, New Albany, and Oxford. Our construction. Then in 2007, we started Cotton States Baseball.
I remember when that started.
Yep. And that's been a very successful venture as far as bringing kids in. It hasn't made a lot of money, and it's not really designed to, but it gives college kids, and we've expanded to high school and junior high kids the opportunity to play baseball right here in New Albany. And it is the biggest tourist attraction to New Albany, bringing 20,000 people a year in.
I know all summer we'll see people in the restaurants and all the rest, and those fields look packed, and so that has been a great endeavor. So.
Well, we're proud of it.
And in the fall, too, when it gets going.
That's right. It's very rewarding. And we've had, usually we've had a child that will come live with us for the summer, and it's been a blessing for our family. Last time we had a kid from North Dakota come and live with us, and we still keep up with him today.
Well, I know you've been in landscaping, and I also know you've given back a lot in the community, like serving as school board and school board president. But you had a lot to do with the B&A park and the tennis courts, and you were I don't know exactly the right role, but it seemed like you were. I know you did a lot of the landscape architecture for it, or at least that's my memory. Can you give me a little bit of an idea how that went?
And much like my parents Warner and I are constantly trying to give back to the community. And on BNA, there was a time when, and it was during the recession, and things were tough, and we were like, let's just donate our time to help develop this. And I oversaw the construction. We did the design, and oversaw the construction at no cost to the city to build BNA tennis complex. And it's won national awards, and it's been a blessing,
real boon
to us and hopefully to our community.
Well, and that helped bring a tennis pro as well as the high school tennis coach here.
Yes, sir.
So it had roots into other things.
That was just part of it goes back to, there were so many people instrumental in getting that park done. BNA Bank was huge. There's so many families that, we're standing on the shoulders of giants, of leaders in our community, and which to me, that is what makes New Albany great. And it's something that, and I'm sorry for going off here, but
no, that's okay.
It's another thing I didn't realize till really after serving on the school board, how lucky and fortunate we are.
Mm-hmm.
And for many reasons, but a lot of it's because the people of my parents' generation and generation before that held everybody accountable and had a higher level of expectations, and they gave more.
Mm-hmm. And that gave more is a big deal.
It is amazing what we have compared to other communities around us, all across the state.
I agree. Well, growing up, can you describe someone who might have had a positive impact on you?
Dr. Garrett, we don't have enough time. My family's been huge, obviously, and there's some women in my life. I got two grandmothers. One is here now, and the others passed, but they were strong-willed women. My mother's a strong-willed woman. My wife's a strong-willed woman. That impact, the tenacity, the work ethic that they displayed, I want to honor them.
Yes, sir.
But the whole, my parents and my grandparents, I call it the scared factor, Dr. Garrett, and it's carried me through a lot of things in my life. It's kept me out of a lot of trouble, and that is that I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want to do something they would be embarrassed of, and I want to put myself in positions where they would be proud of me, and where hopefully I'm working to be what they want me to be.
Live up to their example, so to speak.
Yes, sir. So the scared factor is a real thing in my life. But then you can go to the church. I mean, I had two youth directors, Hooley Goddard and then Bill McAlilly. Bill McAlilly is a bishop, a Methodist bishop in Tennessee. That was my youth director. I mean, I got no excuses. I should have turned out better than what I am. I'm not that I'm great, but I mean, and then and I mentioned in some of the people at my school, I mentioned Miss Bricefield.
Right.
There was Debbie Jumper, my physics teacher. I'd fill out the class form, what I'm going to take the next year. She would get it and then fill it out with, you're taking these classes. And she would call my parents and tell them, I'm taking Sam out of this and putting him in this because this is what he needs to be in. And it was a higher advanced class. I was trying to take the easy way out. She wouldn't let me. She left our school system and became a pharmacist. That's how valuable she was and how smart she was. And then I had coaching to me is huge, and they have such impact on people. And I was so fortunate to have great coaches, and one of the best in the state was Ben Jones, who passed away a few years ago. But I mean, he taught me so much and held me responsible. But preparedness and work ethic. I mean, he was top drawer. It's not lucky that he was so good. He worked harder than everybody else. He studied his craft harder than anybody else, and that translated to his players. And I got to his 80th birthday, and some of the players helped put it together. And I went up to him and I said, "Coach, I'm still trying to please you. I'm still trying to make it right with you. I want you to think I'm okay." And he said, "Creekmore, you're all right." Go on. So, but I meant it. I mean, I was still trying to live up to what he thought I should be. So those are, and I could go on and on about several people, but those are educators. that made a difference in my life right there.
Well, just to say this and not get us carried away, not get me carried away on the next thing, but that's one of the things about schools today is, there are a lot of students who don't have anybody that can do any of that for them. And I know one of the things you guys work on, and one of the things that Pacto tries to do, and one of the things the coaches try to do, and the band directors, they all try to have that kind of impact, but also know it's very, very difficult. And the more we make, school is a business, but the more it's a business and less about kids, the easier it is to lose that aspect. And that's been something that all the state testing and everything we do now, those are important things.
Yeah. But
it's still what you just said. Adults who have impact on young people. And so I'm envious of your experiences, and I'm sure a lot of other people who are listening would be too.
Yeah,
so that's a. Well, let me ask you this: if elected, what would be? I want to ask us a couple of ways and let you go how you want with it. But what would be your leadership style, or what type of leader would you be, or when you're providing leadership, kind of how does that work?
Dr. Garrett, I'd like to think I would be the leader that I am now in my businesses and organizations. That would not change. I believe, and I know that to be a leader, you have to be passionate about what it is you're wanting to leave,
yes,
and you have to care and about the people or about whatever it is you're wanting to lead. But in this case, I care greatly about Union County, about New Albany. I care about every person in it, and I want them to have the same opportunities that I did and that my friends did. And it's our responsibility, frankly, to require it and to give that to them. And so, but back to the leadership, you have to for people to follow you, they have to know that you care. And
Amen.
And that's I'm going to care. I'm going to work hard. And I'm going to be effective, and that's what I've done in my other business, and I see that going forward.
Well, as a legislator, what would be maybe some of your specific areas of interest? There's all sorts of political opportunities to.
There are, and education is primary, and this is the election season, and everybody's now for education, but it is a priority, and I think it's our way off the bottom of whatever lists in the United States there are.
I agree.
And with that will bring more business, and more business brings better education. It's just a vicious cycle.
I've always kind of thought to myself, what if Mississippi had the best public education in the country? How would that change the state? I know it would cost money, but how would it impact the state?
I've thought the same thing. What if we sell out? All right, let's just put it all in education. Let's see what happens, because we have MAEP, and we've only funded it one time.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if it works or not. We've never given it a chance.
There you go.
And I may be the only Republican saying let's fund it fully, but with funding it fully becomes other responsibilities to monitor, to constantly check, and to constantly make your schools more efficient. There is a responsibility that comes to the school systems. If I'm going to give you this fully funded, I want efficiency reports. I want you to be a good steward of the taxpayers' money.
And I think that's completely fair. I mean, there are about 149 school districts now.
Yes,
you may know it's either 148 or 100. I know we've consolidated a few, so
probably need to do a few more, but
yeah,
that's another topic.
But if you look at that, each one has different strengths and weaknesses and needs. And I think your idea of holding each one accountable and really do an assessment so that instead of talking about education in the broad, we talk about education in New Albany, education in Union County, and get a measure of how those areas are doing and do that for the entire state. Then I think it would be easier for legislators to get on board, because I think sometimes they feel like they're kind of throwing money away in some areas because they don't see improvement.
I agree. And, the legislators and the public pays attention when we have a failing school system.
Right.
And then they hold the school board accountable.
Mm-hmm.
They get rid of it. Well, let's start before that happens.
Right.
And let's get more specific to a school system.
Are there particular issues for which you see the need for a law, or maybe a revision of one, or something that's in place, or that may be thinking too far ahead?
Well, I'll say this: I'm pro business, I'm pro education, and I'm pro opportunity. And I'll apply that to whatever business law or whatever programs out there. I don't want to over program anything. I'd rather pull restrictions back, just like we mentioned about on our teachers. That's what that will be my mantra: pro business, pro education, pro opportunity. And I want to say this, and I think, or at least the perception from up here of me looking at the legislators, it looks like to me that there are too many with personal agendas.
They seem sometimes, I think, to care more about what their party tells them in Jackson than they do about what their people tell them at their town. Is that anywhere in the ballpark?
It is. You meant that. Well, the word I'm thinking of is lobbyist.
Okay.
But they're lobbyists. Some obviously they have influence, and that's their job.
Yep.
But I think, and I'm a big fan of Senator John C. Stennis, one of the greatest, and I think the greatest senator.
Another historical character, yes, sir.
In Mississippi. But he had the slogan in his office, always keep Mississippi first. And if we apply that to our thinking and decision making, what is best for our state, not what is best for my pocketbook or what is best for Issaquena, what is best for Mississippi when you're making statewide policy decisions?
I think that's a great point. We're just about out of time. Let me ask you, is there any particular issue you'd like to just kind of hold forth on, or can I go ahead and maybe wind this up with my last question?
Go ahead.
All right, I'll do that. Healthcare. In Mississippi, healthcare has been, well, your dad was a doctor, so you've been up close and personal with it and seeing it from that end. But in some ways, I mean, Mississippi never really participated in some of the parts of the Affordable Care Act, which may be good, may be bad. I'm not trying to say. But how do you see Mississippi and its approach to what's going on with healthcare?
That's a big one, Dr. Garrett. It's above me. I can tell you that I will ask the Mississippi Health Department, I'll ask the insurance commissions, I will work with them and get their opinions. So there are programs out there that we can take advantage of, and there's some we don't need to. But here's where I think I can offer the most as far as health care. Here in New Albany and Union County, we have a top 100 hospital in the United States. That's not an accident. There are talented people that run that hospital that I would call upon. How can I help you? What can I do? What about this program that's been put forth? Well, how will that impact Union County, your hospital, and the state? We don't want to go backwards with our hospital system here. It's achieved such great things. And then two, we have a wealth of talented doctors in New Albany.
We do.
That serve that hospital.
A lot of them graduated here too, or some of them.
That's right. And I can pick up the phone. I would love to call Dr. Mason, Dr. Scott, Dr. Tom. There's a wealth of them that are a lot smarter than me and that would know the solutions for Mississippi healthcare and for local healthcare better than I would. I don't think there is a perfect answer. And
right, it's a tough question. I really didn't want to ask it because I'm thinking so many people seem it's a difficult question.
And it's bigger than it's the insurance part of it too is a big part. But I'll say this: what we've done in Union County and New Albany is with our health system is to be commended and to be replicated. And any way we can protect and enhance that, we need to do.
I said last question, but I got one more.
Okay.
If elected, how would you communicate with your constituents?
Well,
because I know they love to hear from their legislators.
Well, social media is a big deal today.
Yes,
and I've been on Twitter for the past 4 or 5 years, and that's the way I communicate what I'm passionate about, whether it's a birthday or whether it's an anniversary or or a ball game score. And I will do the same thing. And I have a wonderful relationship with our local media, Hill Country Network,
Yes, sir.
the newspapers. I feel comfortable calling them, and I think they feel comfortable calling me. So I don't see that. I see it as a two-way communicating street, and be glad to offer and share whatever I can. Transparency is a big deal.
Yes, sir.
In government, and I think we need more of it, and I hope to provide some of that.
Well, Mr. Creekmore, we appreciate you being here with
Thank
us.
you, Garrett. It's a pleasure.
And for Sam Creekmore, this is Chuck Garrett with Hill Country Network saying thanks for joining us.